We did it. We're back. You must have liked last week's episode because you're back listening to this, or maybe it's the first time you've ever been here. All those corny YouTubers go, hit the subscribe and like. We're not here. We just want you to hang around for at least 69 seconds. And you're going, we? Who? Well, this is me. It's Matt. It's Beard Laws. And joining me as always, the Yo-Yo King, Burley.
Yo.
So, I mean, we're doing the old triple T. We're mixing things up, conspiracies and some cool stuff. And this one is pretty awesome. Burley brought this up. We hinted at it last week. We're here. We did our research. Are we disappointed in it? You'll have to wait until the end of the episode. But this one's intriguing because being nerds, being, kids that grew up in a time where we could, potentially be gaming in an area where you had to go somewhere to game, this one really hits home. And since Burley was the one to find it, and I'm not 100% sure how to say it, I'm going to let Burley kind of let you, I'm going to let you kind of tell everybody what the heck we're talking about.
We'll talk about the legend of Polybius, dude.
I wouldn't have said it that way. I would have said Polybius.
But maybe it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Polybius because it's based on an old-ass philosopher, dude.
Yours sounds way better. Flows.
Polybius. I mean, yeah, they had names like Biggest Dickus and things like that. It's got to be Polybius.
Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
Oh, 100%, dude. And then, every 10 pounds, you lose an inch. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah. So. And then the camera adds a couple inches. So
I'm working on it. I am definitely in the red right now.
Super sober 2025, though.
Yeah, doing pretty solid. We're 25 days in. So
it's pretty good.
But so going back to, we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier that y'all missed, but talking before the show, going back to the arcade, stacking up your quarters, kind of calling your dibs in line. I was never a pinball guy. I think that was before my time. I've thrown a couple quarters in there, but never really got into it. But
I love it. I don't know what it is. I debated buying one of those. What are they? Arcade 7-Up the new pinball machines. Ooh, I could sit around and play pinball for way too long.
Yeah, I never. I mean, I know there's skill to it. You got to know when to kind of hump it and everything else. I'm not dealing with that. But you put me at a claw machine.
Ooh,
you could lose me. You could lose me for a little bit of time.
Yeah. What's the claw machine that gets you? Because there's a lot of them these days. I mean, it could be the one where you go and get tickets. Could be a stuffed animal. Could be the candy ones. They got all sorts of different ones.
It'll usually get me if I walk by and see something, an easy grab, what feels like an easy grab. And then I'm like, all right. And then I will end up spending more than whatever I can grab's worth. But just to say I got it. Claw machines are pretty fun.
What about the coin machines where they slide down the slot
I've
and
dumped
pushes?
Hundreds. Over my lifetime, I've dumped hundreds of dollars in those old coin machines.
Yeah, and sometimes they throw like a card or a little bonus thing in there. So you're like, oh, I'm so close. And then they go down the edge, and you're like, ah.
It's kids' introduction to slot machines, dude. It's
It
what
really
it is.
Yep.
And dude, I've definitely sat there. Like if I go to Dave & Buster's and I want to guarantee I need to get, like my kid has kind of screwed off all of her tickets or her games, so she doesn't have enough tickets for anything more than like a spider ring. I will go to that little coin machine and just wreck shop, dude. Just waterfalls, just making it rain, dude. But I also like to just play the straight video games, dude.
Yeah.
Do you remember Double Dragon?
Of course.
Played that one a lot. Played the Simpsons one.
I played a lot of Galaga, a lot of Pac-Man. Big Pac-Man. So speaking of, I think I called it 7-Up, Arcade 7-Up like an idiot. It's Arcade 1-Up. 7-Up is the soda. I don't know.
Well, I thought they branded it because they did have a video game. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, they did. No, it's Arcade 1-Up where like they sell them at the Wall Farts and all these other places that you can buy them. So I ended up buying a Pac-Man one. So there's a couple of different versions of Pac-Man. It's pretty damn fun. And like I said, so me and the kids are there, and then you start to learn the patterns. So those were the ones I think that I played the most.
Wait, so there are patterns to those ghosts?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Interesting. So there's two types of old school video games. There's vector games, and that would be your Tempest, and I don't know. It's basically just straight lines. Pong would be a vector game, just with straight lines everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then raster games, like full color, like your Pac-Man and stuff like that. This Polybius game, if it existed at all,
I want to
supposedly,
believe.
we are there. We want to believe. I don't have that button. God damn it. All right. I don't even trust my buttons anymore.
I wonder how many episodes we're gonna have Mully and Skull or Zelda references.
Oh, forever, dude. I'm
Forever.
Scully, dude. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Scully so much I got a concussion.
Ooh.
Let's go. Come on, where was I? Oh yeah, raster and vector games.
Mm-hmm.
This one apparently could do both, which was unheard of for 1981. But to give a little backstory, as the legend goes, this video game pops up in 1981 in Portland. Now, back in 1981, Portland wasn't Seattle Junior. It was a little bit more of a small town. Yeah. It was kind of like, have you heard of these towns where, where like if McDonald's is coming out with something new, they'll test it in these little smaller cities and stuff like that?
That was one.
Portland was one of the ones that would do that for games, apparently. So they, and I also should say that in the 80s, but I mean, 81's before we were born, but apparently in the early 80s, late 70s, arcades were new, but they were also pretty seedy. Pretty seedy areas, full of smoke, there was no cell phones or anything like that. So these kids, all they knew was go down the arcade and get into trouble. Back when you could get in trouble, dude. Lots of drugs, lots of, all that stuff. But as the legend goes, this game shows up one day, and wish I had wrote down the name of the what's it called? The arcade. Do you remember?
It's probably in the notes, but let me look it up. Name of arcade that had Polybius. It was called. You would think that it would be there. It still doesn't say. This is what's crazy to me about this whole story is there's so there's so many Reddit threads, there's so many articles. I mean, everywhere.
Hard to find a straight up story, dude. There is not one. I want you to try to find a newspaper clipping about this.
But there's so many stories about it. That's wild. And potentially, not to be a spoiler in the episode, but there's a movie with some guys in some suits and a little device that makes you forget things that potentially might have been around.
That's where people are going to either get mad at us for being too credulous or be like, yeah, dude, they get it. So this
this is on Reddit. This is somebody that found a Polybius arcade cabinet in a small outside town near Portland.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a bunch of people that made their own, so it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. So what it is it pops up at this arcade, this one specific arcade that is now a pretty popular jazz club in Portland. Don't go there. They probably don't know anything about this. Don't ask them questions. I'm sure they get a lot of that. But as the story goes, kids start playing this thing. And boy, oh boy, are they hooked. It's some sort of a mixture between a puzzle and all sorts of other things. I haven't found any footage of it like being played, so I can't describe it to you. But it's pretty intense, apparently. And then afterwards, there was reports of kids being like, okay, I'll never play another video game again. And just like not wanting to play video games ever again. Seizures, highly addicted to like not wanting to stop playing that one singular game. And then even a couple of unalivings.
Yeah. I mean, there were, yeah, the psychoactive effects, I think was what they did. I mean, like you said, seizures, unpleasant side effects, amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. But what's
So
crazy is how the ending of it all. We're not going to get right to, I mean, that would be a boring thing. We'd be like, oh, we're 10 minutes in. Here's the start. Here's the end. There's a lot of crazy shit in there.
so and all the while, there's lots of reports of these quote unquote men in black that were hanging out, not talking to anybody, not telling anybody why they're there, just kind of hanging out in the area and watching people play this game. Every once in a while, they'd open up the back of it, and what has been described as changing out pieces of it, right? So
Hmm.
not taking money, but like changing out like boards, maybe the ROM. Um, for anybody not listening or not understanding, or is this too high level technical? But ROM is read only memory. And it's basically the map of the game. It's a list of instructions of what it is the game, right? So
Hmm.
am I crazy off here? Am I
No,
describing it better?
I mean, especially in this time of the year. I mean, or like in this time,
Yeah, games are
well, it
super
wasn't a ton
simple.
of
It's
RAM, wasn't a ton of hard drives. It was built probably on board.
this is how it is. Read only memory is on there. There's yeah. Um you're not ever gonna write over it. It is what it is. So it looked like they were changing out boards. We don't know. These things start happening, like we just mentioned, these terrible, terrible things. And all of a sudden, all the games disappear.
See ya.
Now, in what was the year on that thing? Gosh darn it.
19. The game was 1981.
Well, yeah, right. That's the last anybody ever heard of it. And then all of a sudden, we get a post on what's it called?
Coin op.
Coinop.com. Yeah,
Yep.
by someone who calls themselves PRG 017. And I'll
Oh,
read this one.
OG screen name.
Yeah, I'll read this one out. Tell me what you think, okay?
Hmm.
G- yeah, so I was able to find this on geocities.ws. Maybe we can pop this into the show notes or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But if anybody gives a shit. So PRG 017 writes, I know I will not be believed. This story will be called a hoax because I have no real information, but still I believe it must be told. I have information on the video game called Polybius and the subsystem called the Sega Genesis CD.
Ooh.
I do not force you to believe this, though with the information I have learned on human mind, it's likely that with the proper video technology I could. I was a
Ooh.
programmer in Sega's arcade division. Suddenly, we received a request to create a game, which was very odd. This would have been ignored, but the source was supposedly a secret organization called Sinneslogen.
Ooh, bless you.
Sinnes Sinnesloschen. Sinnesloschen. Sinnesloschen.
Man, try to say that after a couple beverages.
I don't want to.
Be a heck of a German beer name.
Definitely German, right?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Sinneslotion. Do I go O or ah?
Skin is lotion. Puts the lotion on
Sinneslotion.
the
I like
skin.
that one. Okay. Those dirty Germans. All right. This would have been ignored, but the source was supposedly a secret organization called Sinneslotion, operating with some sort of governmental power. I am still not sure to this day what country they were working for. We were given a project sheet and a map of the human brain and how to stimulate those areas, and were told to integrate them into a game. Sega had quite a bit of money riding on this deal and were not doing well. The game took quite a bit of time, and we created technologies that were far beyond our time. A member of the group suggested the name Polybius, which I remember being the name of a scholar of some sort. The game's genre could be puzzler, but it had The game's genre could be puzzler, but it also had some odd elements. This game is real. The game testers who worked for us had odd mind problems, like losing memory and other such things, like loss of arcade game fandom. That's an odd way to say tired of video games. Arcade
Yes.
game fandom. Um, I cannot remember what we designed the arcade case to look like because it was done by another group. After the project, we signed papers promising secrecy, and if I'm discovered, I may get in serious trouble. However, I believe that this needs to be known. At the beginning of this page, I mentioned the Sega Genesis CD. I was involved in several projects after Polybius, and eventually I ended up on the Sega Genesis CD team. While we were designing this, an issue came up. I cannot remember the details, but it involved the two processors syncing up. It turns out that Polybius was discovered to use two processors, working in a way similar to what we wanted for the Sega Genesis CD. We were afraid of getting in trouble for using the game's code, but we altered the game's BIOS anyways. How would you describe a BIOS? So for
Mm,
anybody listening.
it's kind of like the software brains of things. I
What does
mean, all the
BIOS
computers
stand
have the
for?
BIOS that help run it properly from hardware, like a motherboard or something.
It kind of tells everything what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does BIOS stand for again?
I don't know.
Burley is outstanding.
Yes, that's
BIOS.
exactly what I meant. BIOS, baby.
um, However, most of the code that activated the mind-altering system, details classified, were in that BIOS. The
Oh,
actual game ROM needs the BIOS to run. It was very much like a modern console in that matter. The point is that I believe we left quite a bit of the legacy code of Polybius in the Sega Genesis CD, at least in the earliest revisions. However, I was laid off shortly after, and though it was for misconduct, I practiced no such thing. And I believe it was because I accessed the Polybius files. They were likely deleted from the Sega system afterwards. I have heard rumors of an arcade ROM floating around the internet, but cannot find it. If I ever do find the ROM, I will start researching it, and hopefully, we'll be able to find a way to get in it to run it. That is, if I'm not caught. That's it.
and you probably never heard from him again.
Never heard from him again. People tried to reach out to him. Nada.
Yikes.
So, I mean, do with
Man,
that what you will. Man, that's the most I've read in out loud in so long.
I mean,
How
super.
do you do it, dude?
I think you nailed it. That is wild. That is wild. Huh.
So if you're an internet user, and I believe that came out in like 1998 or something. If you're an internet user, you hear those gunshots?
I did not, thankfully.
Sounds like gunshots.
Maybe it's fireworks.
Somebody's probably dying.
Mm.
Oh, they know we're talking about Polybius. This is not good.
That is not
Oh,
good. They thought it was
geez.
coming down the street. Men in Black's going to be here pretty soon.
You just see a flash on the screen. Got him.
So do you think that was some just kind of hoax? Because early internet 98 probably still new enough where there's not a lot of information on this from Portland. I mean, maybe it's written in a magazine somewhere, and then they got it, but then he posts it.
It's poorly written. And it's not just me reading it. It's poorly written.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, let's be honest, if it's somebody working high level for Sega, they're probably going to write a little bit better, I would imagine. Maybe
might
not.
have been bad translation.
That is true.
Sershin lotion.
Sershin
Or
lotion.
whatever it was. Sinish lotion.
Finish.
So then that kind of sparks up a whole bunch of online rumors, and people are kind of going with it. People are trying to figure out more about this game, right? And hitting a whole bunch of dead ends, but the rumors keep going, right? Talking about the Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they talked a little bit of MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Which I have to assume in the late 90s would have had been a relatively newer idea. Maybe not, though.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't something I knew, but I was still so young. And it's nothing that was ever brought up in any circles, and I've been around
Yeah,
for about 40 years now, and it still has never really been brought up.
I mean, we are the pre-jizz to conspiracy theories. This show, because I
Hmm.
guarantee you, like these real tinfoil hat guys listen to us and go, "Duh, duh," and they're probably thinking we're missing a lot of details. But
Yes. Well, and they're like, MK Ultra. How have you ever? Maybe that's a whole nother episode. I mean, it could be a whole
that
nother
one,
episode.
the episodes. I mean, there's
Yes.
a lot of information on that.
Hmm.
Da, 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 da. Uh, so in the meantime, some cool stuff's happening though. It takes on a kind of a life of its own. It gets into pop culture a little bit.
Hmm.
There's a reference to Polybius in The Simpsons. Um,
Did they predict the future, the
what was
past?
it called? What was it called? It was a reference to an MC. The name of the episode is called "Please Homer, Don't Hammer Him." I believe it's a reference to MC Hammer. Uh, but there's a part where Bart goes into the arcade and
Yeah, it's right here.
oh, you have it? Okay.
Well, at least Bart with the
Oh,
Polybius. It's on
yeah.
the
So
phone.
he's looking at another game, but right next to him is the Polybius machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's looking at Triangle Wars.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yep, and then it's then it's got there.
By the way,
Which,
in my research, did you know how like crazy smart the writers of The Simpsons are?
I mean, they have to be right.
I mean,
Groaning.
but they like hide wild stuff like that in The Simpsons all over the place. Like they love tossing around prime numbers all over the place, just hidden around all over.
Hmm.
There's something called what was it called? I don't know. I'll go back and find it. But it was like another wacky name for a number that they hide in The Simpsons. No,
There is layers and layers of things in every Simpson, and that's why it's. I mean, you throw enough stuff out there. That's why everybody's like, "Oh, he's a time traveler and he's predicting the future." I mean, you throw enough wild things out there, some of the stuff is going to be true. And like I said, they got a big brain. Maybe they really are time travelers. I don't know. And maybe The Simpsons has been there in every one of our childhoods on Sundays, just sitting there painting the future, hinting at all of this conspiracy stuff. We could have an entire episode of just Simpsons conspiracy time traveler. That'd probably be a pretty fun one. We should probably write that one
yeah,
in the notes.
Simpsons would be a good one, I think.
Would be
I can't, man. I feel like it was called like scandalous numbers or something like that. There's like a name for it.
hmm.
Anyways, like for instance, like there's some sort of a here we go. Like there's supposedly some sort of a mathematical thing that's impossible to solve. This
And they
this
were.
this equation.
Yep.
So then there's a scene where Homer is
Oh,
doing the equation. So then a bunch of people froze it. It's like a donut equation. A bunch of people froze it, worked out, and it actually works out. Right?
that's crazy.
Now, the reason it works out is because if you do it on a calculator, it only goes like the 10th digit or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, yeah, it looks like you solved it. But if you actually work it out on paper, it's one of those like never ending numbers. So it wasn't solved, but it was kind of a clever thing that they just tossed in there that nobody would get unless you're a mathematician.
Mathematician to a point, and let's be honest, a lot of times when Simpsons was playing, you couldn't pause TV, so you're not going to catch a lot of these things.
Good point.
Now it's reruns. Now it's whether it's DVRs and the ability that you weren't able to pause it. You had to pee on commercial breaks.
Pee on commercial breaks, or if you paused it, if you had a VCR tape, it had those little squiggly lines across it, you weren't doing anything. Remember trying to freeze on boobs?
Mm-hmm.
They're always like cover them.
Always.
Anyhow, where did I leave off? Where are we now, sir? Okay, so then enough time's gone by, and then all of a sudden we get a post on the internet by somebody named Stephen Roach.
Stephen Roach.
I don't know if you want to try to tag team this, but this person comes in saying that, yo, I developed Polybius, basically.
Yeah, let's run through this. It's a little bit there. If you don't want to hear this whole thing, it's pretty educational. You can.
It's
Feel
worth
free
it.
It's worth it. So let's read. This is going to be a lot of words in there that when I get to the point, I'm going to probably be like, what the hell is that word, Burley? But let's do this. And this is how it starts off. I think it's about time I laid this to rest. However, entertaining the speculation, my name is Stephen Roach, who was primarily based in the Czech Republic. That's what it was. And then Skinalotion was a company set up by myself and several other. It's not what it really is, like he said. He spelled it out. We don't speak. Oh, I guess it's Czech then, right?
Yeah, that
Instead
makes more
of
sense now.
German. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. It was a company set up by myself and several other, mainly amateur programmers in 1978 that worked on component parts for printed circuit boards. That's how programming is a limited but very profitable sideline, like a side hustle, not a sideline. That's what they say in the Czech. I think the fact that it wasn't the local or the focal point of our business took the pressure off of us, and hence we created some quality work, which quickly gained a reputation within the industry. We were approached around 1980 by a Southern American company. Ooh, Southern American company. Who's that? Coca
Uh,
Cola?
Houston. Oh yeah, Coca Cola's in Atlanta, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is it Southern American or like South America?
Dude, in the
Hmm?
70s, was South America even a thing?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
No, wasn't
Hmm.
even there, dude. Wasn't even there. Not until America found it.
Oh, and they were like, it's a but you know what? They shall remain nameless for legal purposes to develop an idea that had been producing an arcade game with a puzzle element that centered around a new approach to video game graphics. They were very keen indeed to gain an upper hand in what would already be a very competitive market, so we offered a staggering commission-based remuneration package to develop something special that utilized the technology. We developed the game in little more than 2 porta cabins that were knocked together, where we spent many stressful mornings, evenings, and nights, which was a great pity because it compromised our relaxed and innocently amateurish approach to our business in spite of the financial possibilities. This guy, much better writer
Yeah, yeah,
than,
yeah,
than
yeah,
the
yeah.
other one.
Very, very well thought out.
So there was a guy named Marek Vashusik.
I believe that.
Yeah, let's go with that one. And he was the programmer who came up with the name Polybius because he studied Greek mythology at Masaryk University. I wonder where that is.
I'll look it up.
Somewhere in the Czech, you think?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Oh, he's looking that up, and he came.
We're gonna check this guy out.
Yeah, Masaryk University, and it's old Marek. That almost sounds like it was his college.
It is in the University of Brno, Chechnya. Is Masner University? Yeah, so wherever Chechnya
Hmm.
is that Czech Republic? No,
It's got to be closer to there than Southern America.
no doubt.
And let's see here. So he studied Greek mythology and came up with the name because it sounded quite bold and mysterious. Agree. Which
Spooky.
is what they wanted, quite simply. They inspired graphics combined with the puzzle elements, and scintillating gameplay was something to behold. They play tested it for hours and hours, and it certainly was an addictive game that was well loved professionally and recreationally by all that played. The company, they couldn't have been happier, and we all thought we were on the verge of something very special. But then they received a phone call stating that there were concerns with the company about the basic graphics, which featured prominently in so many other games at the time. And it was just fine for the average gamer to spend hours at a time without any noticeable physical or mental detriment. But the intense and engrossing gameplay of this new setup was very much an unknown quantity. So the game was put back several months due to the divided opinion within their board of directors.
I want to
Much.
know who this company is. You know,
I know. Why did they have to have legal battles? So much to our consternation.
that's a new one.
That's a new one. Don't know that word. Surprised I said it wrong. Probably
I
might
got
have
you
said it
there.
right. He's gonna look up what consternation is.
Oh, it
Or
helps, dude. My keyboard stinks. It just keeps stop working, dude.
I wonder why I have a sticky keyboard.
Hey, let's do a feelings of anxiety or dismay, typically at something unexpected.
There we go. Because they were doing all that and breaking our backs to finish it on time. So they received a heartening, collated playtesting figures and were told that the game would receive a temporary limited release, which buoyed us significantly. But shortly after, we received terrible news. A 13-year-old boy from the Lloyd district of Portland, Oregon, had suffered an epileptic fit while playing the game. only 6 days after the machines had literally been installed. One of the senior employee that he knew, not me, very well contacted me to tell me it caused immense ripples of panic throughout the company, who were of the opinion that they had created a monster, in air quotes, as such. It may sound laughable now, but please bear in mind that this was 25 years ago when the video game industry was in its infancy, which when was this letter released? It was definitely way more than 25 years at this
Uh,
current day.
yeah, I want to say 2000 or 2006. Those numbers are in my head right now.
Okay, so at this point, roughly 50 years, we'll say.
Yeah.
So obviously definitely in their infancy, around the 80s. Every effort was made to withdraw the game from the public domain as quickly as possible, but the scaremongering, I like that word, was
Mm-hmm.
already out in the force, and a lot of children were queuing up or daring their friends to play the supposedly nightmarish game. Company directors,
Controversy sells, dude. That's,
big
definitely the
time.
deal. Yeah.
Word of mouth. Oh, it's so scary. You won't play it, pussy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll play it. No, you won't.
It's like, yeah, the more parents got mad at stuff, the more we wanted to be Mortal Kombat. Look at Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
You know?
Company directors descended on the town to assess the situation, which may account for the strange men in black suits hanging around. So they tried to say they were company directors.
Mm-hmm.
And the machines were often taken in daylight, causing minor but noticeable incidents. As far as I was made aware, again, him, not me, only 7 machines were distributed around the area and no other health-related incidents were reported. He heard off the record that the company made a one-off settlement to the boy's family and no more was heard, apart from all the internet-based speculation and resulting paranoia. They disbanded Schleischen show shortly afterwards because we didn't want to restrict ourselves to the stringent deadlines of other companies and favored. Oh, that's like a Canadian. See how they added the O and the U for
Oh, I
favored?
see that. Yeah.
Oh, Canada, eh? So they favored distancing ourselves from the game in case of lingering recriminations. That's a tough one. That one got me.
Recriminations?
Recriminations, son of a bitch, which could have done a great deal of damage to our personal and professional reputations, which was our livelihood. And with some of us having very young families, this was extremely important to us. As far as I'm aware, no ROMs or otherwise exist unless they remain in the bowels of the company that distribute it. We, that's them, only received the basic payment in view of the fact that the game was withdrawn without nationwide or international distribution. So we grew to loathe it and was often a cursed word whenever we used to meet up and still is today, which is a shame. I still believe that we created something that should have changed the face of gaming and would have set us apart from the rest of the industry, but arcade games were often compared to drugs at the time because of their addictiveness, and we created something that small-minded bureaucrats perceived to be the heroin of the video game world. That's some big claims. Now look at Portland.
Yeah.
What?
Just heroin of the world.
You heard it here first. Polybius made Portland, Oregon, the heroin capital of the world.
Seen it 100
They've been
times.
chasing that fix ever since.
Chasing the dragon, dude.
And that's the only crime was to be many years ahead of its time. I'm sure people will doubt the sincerity of this, so feel free to drop this personal line. Stephen R. Roach at yahoo.com. As I'm happy to answer questions. Stephen, we got to hit this up, right?
I did. I sent an email.
Nothing?
Waiting.
They say that's the hardest part.
Yes, it is. Waiting is the hardest part.
Hit us back, Stephen R.
So,
Roach. Would have been a good time.
I definitely was just like, are you telling the truth?
Come on, we're going to do a podcast about this, Stephen.
Yeah, dude, I could really use your insight.
I mean, this person, this letter, this is very well spoken. This one is more believable that this guy had some connections with some other countries. They created something, and I feel like, I don't know. I'm believing it even more by reading this. And I didn't obviously read this pre-reading before by the way that I couldn't pronounce half the words in here. I believe this a little bit more, and this is more believable to me. Listen, we put 7 out. It's pretty easy to go get 7 games in the entire world and not anybody really know about it. And one kid having some sort of seizure. I mean, this is before you could jump on, TikTok now that it's not banned and, you know, have the flashes that are on the screen. And some people might have seizures from them, so they have seizure warning. You know what I mean? Like that could easily have happened to a kid, one kid. They get a settlement, it all goes away. But the part that's questioning a little bit for me, they're not going to send corporate directors to go collect these machines, right? I mean, unless
No.
maybe things were different back in the day. But I have to imagine that they're not sending these guys. They're going to say, hey, listen, you, you big guy, Frank, go get these goddamn machines. Whoever put them in, get them out of here.
Yeah, yeah. That's I have a
You
hard
know?
time. Yeah, they're just gonna send the. They'll probably just hire movers, dude. You know.
But I could see, I guess, this is the early 80s. They got a lot of investment in. I could see them wanting to be around and see what's going on. But the corporate directors aren't going to be the nerds that are in there swapping out boards. They're not going to
Correct.
be the ones that I wouldn't imagine. But it was a different time. But maybe they're just there checking on their project. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, but he did say it was a large company, right? That had a board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're not going to send the corporate guys. I was thinking maybe it's like one of these because was it Portland or Seattle where Bill Gates got his start? You know, so maybe he would be out there dealing with the nerd stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have a board of directors. He was in his garage before
Yeah.
he, sold his soul to Satan. Um. So, yeah, what do you think, dude? What do you think about this so far?
I mean, because of this, I can see somebody, and I have to imagine. I mean, this was a while ago. This person's probably a little bit older, and he's probably like, you know what? There's a lot of buzz about it. What do I have to lose at this point? My kids, they're not young anymore. I'm not young anymore. I want people to know that, yes, it existed. This guy busted his ass. That big word that I didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? All the stress, the anxiety, all of that stuff, day in, day out, him, and they're creating this. You don't spend that kind of time. You don't have that kind of vision to put something out that you honestly think is game changing in the industry to have it fail and then just let it go. I mean, there's always going to be that piece of you that is always like, son of a bitch, we had the thing and it had to get shut down because of a seizure.
Well,
So I think he wants his story to be out there. And like I said, 7 machines, you can get rid of
yeah.
7 machines pretty damn quick.
Oh,
Without cell
dude. I mean,
phones,
I
without
think Atari proved
cameras,
it.
you know?
I think Atari proved that with the ET video game. You know the story on that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, ET the video game is apparently the worst Atari video game or video game period ever made. So bad that they filled an entire landfill with them,
Yes. Okay.
buried them. Yeah.
Yep. I do remember. I know the landfill there. It was, the Atari 2600.
Yeah, so I don't know though. I don't even in my head the way I remember it is nobody has a copy of that game, but I don't know if that's true. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, in 2014, a crew excavated the site and uncovered the cartridges they were selling for like $1,500 a
That's
cartridge that was in a landfill, buried for the worst video game. That's how stupid we are as people. Let's just go. Let's pay $1,500 for a video game that's the worst, and that was in a goddamn landfill.
people are paying that apparently for TikTok, dude.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, yeah.
All
And,
roads
and
lead
it's funny
back to
because that
TikTok.
was a year after the said potential game changer. So you have this, extra graphics, addiction, and let's be honest. How many times did you grow up playing a game that you were addicted to as a kid? And not to sound like an old man, but a lot of times there wasn't save points. So you played extra and extra because you had to just go, 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 go. You die, you got to almost start over. Go, 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 go. So if they had a puzzling game that was intense, a little bit freaky, a little bit scary, and then you just have to keep dumping money and dumping money. I mean, I could see this in to be a game changer in the 80s, especially when ET's rolling out and sucks. It would have been cool to know. It would have been cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, what was your game that you were addicted to as a kid? That you
See,
dreamed about?
for me, I was a sports nerd. So I played, I really enjoyed sports games. And I think that's much better for me because you could just play a game or two, grab a season, start it, stop it. Wasn't a big deal. You know what I mean? Played a little Super Mario. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was pretty your standard stuff. But there's not a game that sticks out in my brain that was just like I had to play this all the time. I didn't
Uh,
play a ton of them. Like I wasn't like a huge gamer. It was either it was mostly sports stuff. I love sports stuff.
I had some sports games, but dude, Donkey Kong Country,
That was it.
all of those games, you couldn't stop me from playing those games. They ruled.
They're
Like
freaking.
I kind of want to download the ROMs and play them again on an emulator or something, but I'm just no. I know that it'll
Have
take
you
a
ever gone
lot.
back and really done that though, and then
Yeah.
just be like, this sucks?
Oh, on the Wii. So we had a
Uh,
Wii, and I put all the ROMs on a little memory card and stuck it in there, so I could play all the way up to the Wii, all the games before the Wii, right?
yep.
And there was a couple of games in there that I was like, man, I used to love this game, and then I just couldn't get into it. I think it was Killer Instinct, that game.
Yep.
Remember that one? And
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know if you remember this one, but remember Clay Fighters?
Mm-mm.
It was kind of groundbreaking for the graphics at the time, but I'm going to show you what it looked like. They figured out how to do stop motion in like a fighting game, dude.
Interesting. Is it the one with like the snowman on there?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Clay
No,
Fight.
I never played. I didn't have a 64.
That was on Super Nintendo, Doug.
Didn't have a Super Nintendo either.
Okay.
I didn't have a Nintendo. I don't think either. I think the first console that we might have got might have been a Sega.
Yeah, I never had a Sega. Oh.
I think because I remember Sonic. Although I do remember Mike Tyson Punch Out. I remember the old man playing that a lot.
That one I think was a game changer because you could do the codes.
Codes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And you still had to write them down, and
Which
you could.
that's going to come into play somewhere in here.
Mhm.
The
But yeah, I
codes.
mean, what's kind of interesting, like I said, and obviously they're able to hide these, they're able to do this, but there's so many stories, and there's so many people that were saying, "Oh, I remember playing this. I remember playing." But is it kind of the same thing of the oh man, I'm gonna have a brain fart. I just had it and lost it. The Mandela effect. You know what I mean? Like so many people saw the movie Sinbad. Did they
Yeah,
really see
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie
yeah.
Sinbad? Did they really see Polybius? Were they in the 80s as a young kid? Like you as a young kid, you don't
Were
remember
you
a lot of,
alive?
you know what I mean? Like, and maybe if you're in that age and you're in that area, you're dabbling in some hallucinogenic drugs as it is to go to an arcade. Maybe you remember and you don't at the same point. Maybe there was a game that was close. There's probably a handful of arcade games that began with the letter P.
Pinball.
That's a pretty common one. Did you know that the first pinball machine was made in the 30s, I believe?
Really?
Pretty sure, and I think the first coin op arcade game was like 70s. Maybe I'm making that up, but that's what my brain was telling
And
me.
the first one's like Pong, right? Or is that just the first home video game?
That might have been the first home one, but either way, yeah. Yeah, Computer Space was the first arcade game in 71. It was based on Space War, a
So
two-player game.
before that, it was all skee ball and pinball, huh?
Mm-hmm. A lot of pinball. Man, those friggin' pinball machines were heavy.
Okay. Well, have you ever seen the movie The Last Starfighter?
No. Sorry, I'm not a movie guy.
Oh, this is before we were born.
Oh, then I definitely didn't.
I want to read the the synopsis for you.
Hell yeah.
Last Starfighter. Okay.
It was
So
a video game as well.
yeah, but it's based on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Last Starfighter is a 1984 American space opera. Directed
Ooh.
by Nick Castle. The film tells the story of Alex Rogan, a teenager who, after winning the high score on an arcade game that's secretly a simulation test, is recruited by an alien defense force to fight in an interstellar war.
Ooh.
That's another one that sounds like they might have based this movie on Polybius, possibly.
Yeah, because there was a theory, and hopefully I'm not stepping on your toes here, of the CIA and the government that there was talks that were doing a little experiment to see if they could do mind control and psychological manipulation, which in the 80s, at the time the U.S. government was involved in top secret projects like MK Ultra. So they not only were trying mind control, and this has been a theory and some stuff. I mean, it's our government, not only the government and all the other stuff, but not only were they trying mind control with video games, movies, radio waves, drugs, that one got me, hypnotics, and there's several other methods that the government has tried. Why not video games? If you're trying to take over the youth, maybe that's why our parents were like, "It's gonna rot your brain."
Yeah.
Take
Well,
over your brain.
so Operation Midnight Climax. Do you know about this?
No, but it sounds like a video that's on a VHS that one of my uncles owned.
It's you could pull it up right on CIA.gov. You have to love the Freedom of Information Act, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S. government opened up a few brothels back in the day,
America.
and the hookers would drug the Johns when they came in with copious amounts of LSD, and through two-way mirrors, the agents would study what happens, and that's what you were talking about. They were leading into the mind control stuff of trying to see what you could do with the highest doses of LSD. They did that to an entire town in France.
Ooh.
Where they were dumping LSD into the water, and the whole town was just getting dosed. Forget that operation name. There's a theory that LSD is the reason that all the people in Salem, Massachusetts, and all the witch trials, they were all seeing things and all this other stuff. They think that might be some sort of a hallucinogenic thing.
Yeah, it was. They thought it was a thing in the wheat that they consumed, like a poison that was similar to the effects of like an LSD or that produced hallucinations and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like a bacteria, which, I mean, let's be honest, a mushroom can cause certain effects as well. Which,
how much would it rule to eat a ham sandwich and then trip balls afterwards? I would love that, bro.
It would rule if you knew that potential sandwich could do that. It would not be the greatest of times if you had no idea.
You just see
your sandwich was going to melt your face off.
Imagine eating lunch on a Sunday afternoon, and then about halfway home, you look over and your wife's face is melting.
Oh my goodness! You got some explaining to do.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. The amount of that's. I don't know how I would react if I did that. I'd probably stab somebody. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't be. Nope, that wouldn't be a good time. But there was we're talking other games and stuff, and there was actually links in some of the research that we found saying that the Polybius legend was linked to other games because there were some games from the same era that had similar characteristics. There was one that also used flashing lights, pulsating lights, and psychedelic imagery such as Tempest or Dragon's Lair. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
I've definitely played Tempest.
Yeah, and apparently there's another one, Dragon's Lair. Well, these games were not as extreme, apparently, that there was parallels, and they actually draw suggestions that the Polybius story might have originated from the experience or players who were affected by these intense visual styles.
In Tempest, that's the one that had that. I only know this because my dentist had this in his office.
Your dentist had Tempest? Wow.
I saw the joke there too. I just didn't know what it was. But it had the golden tee ball on it, basically.
Really?
But this thing was lubed up so well, dude. You just did like that, and it would just spin for what seemed like 30, 45 seconds. It's crazy.
Shout out Golden Tee.
Golden Tee is...
You can buy that on Arcade 7-Up.
I was about to say, I think whenever you said that, 7-Up, whenever you said that earlier, I was like, man, I just saw like a mini version of Golden Tee at one of these houses I went and toured the other day.
Yep.
So, yeah.
There's a little gameplay from...
Yeah. So, Tempest with the ball is awesome. You can download that for your computer now. It's probably free.
Probably not as cool, though.
It's not as cool without the ball, dude. Not as cool. I think it might have came on Windows 7. No, what was before Windows 7? 95.
90.
Windows 95, because
No,
that came
no,
with
no, there was
pinball.
95. 2000. Windows 2000
I
was
think
there.
it was
XP.
95 though, because whatever the one that had pinball, I think it also came with Tempest.
Interesting.
I think might be, and it had Tank on it. Remember Tank?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man, we're going down
yeah. We're going down a lot of rabbit holes. All right, so
so many.
other places that the Polybius was mentioned, Wreck-It Ralph. Apparently, it's in the background of Wreck-It
Mm.
Ralph during the arcade scenes, which that's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
On here it says it was mentioned in Pixels. I did not see Pixels.
Is that the Sandler movie?
I don't know. I know the picture of the cover that I own is a giant Pac-Man. I just have never pressed play on it.
Yeah, I think it's an Adam Sandler movie. Yeah, it is. It's Sandler. It's got Peter. I almost put them together. Pinkage. Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
It's got Kevin James. Some other people. Yeah. There's and Andrew Bambridge. A lot of.
I don't know Andrew Bembridge. I don't like that last name at all.
He's about the same size as Peter Dinklage.
He's another Dink.
He's a percussionist, composer, and an actor from Jersey. People also search for okay. Anyways, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, I know there was a arcade movie, more or less Sandler. I didn't watch it either. I'm an Adam Sandler fan, but it was just kind of the same thing. Him as a kid growing up in an arcade, set a super high score on a game. The next thing you know, things get crazy in the real world. So who do they call? Adam Sandler's character.
Adam Sandler. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw the movie King of Kong. Did you ever see that?
Shocker, but no.
It's a documentary, but it's about this guy his life dream is to set the highest score on Donkey Kong, the OG. So he has a full cabinet in his garage where he sits on a bar stool 8-10 hours a day.
Jesus.
Practicing.
That dude must get some terrible hemorrhoids.
Dude, there's a way to fix those.
How would you fix said terrible hemorrhoids?
I don't know, maybe cement.
Ooh, that would be one way. Or roid rage. Don't be a dumbass. Be a numbass. Check them out, roid rage. Tell your friends, tell your grandma. I heard that a lot of pregnant women have a problem with hemorrhoids. It was in the comments on a video. And you guys can use code BEARD. Not Beard Laws. We wanted to make it easier. Save yourself some money. It's a veteran-owned company as well. Gummies. Our buddy Euban on the other show, he's been eating a lot of gummies. Said he's been having a lot of good poopies.
Gotta love it. No more soupy poopies. That should be the name of the. Actually, theirs is probably better. Numbass to dumbass.
That's. I know a lot of people. A lot of people are really enjoying that in me as well. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I've tried. I'm not a guy that's having some poop issues. You know what I mean? But I opened up the gummies and started to smell them, and I'm like, I need to try these. So I've had last couple of days, and to be honest with you, as a guy that has IBS, I haven't had to go as much. So I think these gummies are onto something.
Dude, I don't have crapping issues at all, but I also take fiber gummies almost every day of my life because I can't have any sweet things, and they're kind of sweet, and it's like a little treat.
These are pretty sweet. These are strawberry tangerine flavored. They are delicious. The problem I think with Euban though is he does love gummies. All gummies. They could be kid snack gummies. They could be ones that make you giggle gummies. They could be hemorrhoid gummies. I think he's probably eating more than suggestion with his 2. Or maybe he's mixing them up. Or maybe he's just being silly. He's just mixing them all together and just...
2 in the front and 2 in the back. 2 in the back. But yeah, go buy it. Back to the show.
Yeah, let's. I think we're at the point we're gonna have to get to the conclusion.
In conclusion, Mulder.
This is the part. Spoiler alert. This is the part that's a little sad.
Hit us with it, dude. Mulder.
Well, it turns out we have letters, we have internet buzzes, and there's still some research on there that's being done on some other YouTube channels. When you Google it, that's probably how you found us. There's no solid evidence that it's real. But again, throw this out there because I want to believe if it's only 7 cabinets, they can get rid of thousands of ET games in a dump. It would be so easy to get rid of 7 arcade cabinets. I mean, me and Burley could get rid of 7 arcade cabinets with like pretty much no effort.
Yeah,
Some fireworks, a little bonfire. See you later.
easy money.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as we can tell, at least as far as I can tell, I mean, I did some deep diving on this, did a bunch of reading, did a bunch of listening, did a bunch of watching. But you know what? I have to shout out this guy. He
Shout them
did
out.
the best job. He doesn't need our shout out at all. He's got millions of but he's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Let me
And
find
he's never going to listen to this, but maybe he does, or maybe you're a friend of him.
Of
Doubt it.
course, my internet wants to be so okay. So the YouTube channel is called Ahoy.
Hey, like Chips Ahoy, but
Yeah,
minus
but
the
yeah, it's
chip.
just Ahoy. For some reason, it's taking a freaking couple seconds here. Yeah, they got 1.81 million followers, but they did a whole video about Polybius. It's on the Ahoy channel. So it's called Polybius, the video game that doesn't exist. And they did a really good job. It's about an hour long, but it's worth it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So after you finish with this, go watch that.
Go watch that. I mean, follow up on it. It's like I said, but there's a lot of things that exist in this world that there's no solid proof. There wasn't any solid proof that there was aliens until the government released it. Maybe one of these days, maybe old Trumpy is going to hear this podcast and his team, and they're going to, you know what? I got to release this Polybius information that the government hid from you all.
We got to get those eggs cheaper, though, dude.
Yeah,
Got
I
to
know.
get these eggs cheaper.
I've been. I have 2 eggs every morning. It's getting out of control.
DJT, dude. DJT. Take care of this, DJT.
Take care of it. But I don't know. So let's do our final thoughts. Where were we doing? We were doing a rating thing as well.
Rating of the what is the rating of,
or something?
Yeah, the credibility. Credibility. I'll go first. And scale 1 to 10, I'm putting this on like a 3, dude.
Yeah, the first number that came into my mind was 5.4, but it seems way too high, so I'm going to go 3.4.
Yeah.
Averaging 3.2. I want to believe.
I want to believe, man, but these guys, something we didn't mention, but Stephen Roach did a interview for another website like in 2015 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much he pretty much just regurgitates his original post. And I guess that's just to keep his story straight or whatever. But I don't know. It's only 2 fellas. And he said there's an entire team. Where's the rest of that team, dude?
But hey, there's a bigger company he can't talk about for legal reasons in South America. Let us know what it could be. Who it could be.
South America?
I don't know. It's crazy.
Shout out Sinneschlossen.
Sinneschlossen lotions. Either way, we can't thank you enough for hanging out with us. If you're still here, if you're not, well, then nobody's listening.
Go Sinneschlossen yourself. Dude.
Go Sinneschlossen. Check out all the friends in the links found in the thing. Go check out last week's episode. It was pretty decent. Check out Mel's Hole.
Mel's Hole's a good hole.
It's fun to say. But either way, can't thank you enough. Make sure you guys go check out the Rage and Pillage podcast. You're going to see our boy Burley over there with Max ABV. His podcast, Drink O'Clock, as well. Check out the friends of the show. We can't thank you enough. We'll be back, hopefully, next week. No spoilers, because we have not thought that far ahead. But it's going to be awesome, just like you. That's all we got. Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.